I am joined by Ellen Feig Gray, co-author of Hacking School Culture, Designing Compassionate Classroom. I think any time is a good time for building compassionate classrooms, but it seems like in the climate we're in, Ellen, that it's just needed more than ever. We've got kids that have teachers are faced with more issues now than I think maybe they ever have been, with students who have emotional concerns and identity concerns, and we've still got race concerns, and now we have school shootings, and of course that creates all kind of political uproar. But I say, maybe if we create an environment that helps kids to be tolerant, accepting of each other, to be compassionate with themselves and empathetic, that might be a good start. Ellen Gray, now that we're all set, what say you?
There's certainly no magic answers. We don't have them. I don't think anybody else has them either.
Right.
But the opportunity here is to talk about what we really need to do to help kids feel safe at school, to be able to understand themselves, understand others, for teachers to be able to practice compassion and self-compassion, and to because we're all in this together.
And you say, we don't have any magic. There's not a magic wand that's suddenly going to eliminate school shootings, or going to make every child's life fantastic, or every teacher's for that matter. But we need a starting ground. And I know that in your book, Hacking School Culture, you have a lot of that. So if I'm a teacher and I say, wow, designing a compassionate classroom sounds wonderful, sounds challenging, what would you tell me to do maybe this summer to prepare?
Well, our premise is that in order to practice compassion with other people, we really have to start with ourselves. And that we can take a reading as to how we're doing, be kind and gentle to ourselves. That's a very important part of self-compassion. We could be mindful, and we can figure out what we can do to become more self-compassionate. And that's one of the principles of our of the compassionate classroom, is to that self-compassion does build resilience.
You would be suggesting then that in order for us to create a compassionate classroom for our kids and to move toward getting them to have all the tools they need for compassion, we need to get some self-compassion first.
Absolutely. It all starts with empathy. And in order to understand our students, which is really the key to designing a compassionate classroom, we've got to start with ourselves. For example, self-compassion exercises could be taking yoga classes, going to Pilates, spending time in nature.
I want to turn my attention back to my classroom because I need to create a compassionate classroom so that hopefully I can avoid a lot of the tragic things that are happening with kids. Maybe we can get kids to feel better about themselves. Tell me some of the strategies in the book, at least one or two hacks that I can use to create this compassionate classroom of my own.
Hack 3 is about designing a compassionate classroom. And one of the things that we talk about, which we really value, is focusing on character strengths. There's so much emphasis at school on academic strength, skill building, and assessing those. One of the things we are advocating is to I use something called the VIA character strengths. You can go to viacharacter.org to take the test. The premise is that we all have 24 universal character strengths already built in. And so we're providing teachers with something called the Strength Spotting Center that can be adapted to any grade, any age, however they want, to be able to spot their kids' character strengths. And when you have a conversation about strengths such as honesty, appreciation of excellence, perseverance, creativity, things that we all have the potential to cultivate as human beings, and we're recognizing those strengths, those character strengths in our students. We have a common language that's a positive language. And we've seen it be very, very effective in creating a compassionate classroom.
Now, Ellen, you know, as an author of a Hack Learning series book, that one of our foundations in all Hack Learning chapters is pushback. So I'm going to push back a little bit.
Great.
Talking about the curriculum side of designing a compassionate class. I've got to get my kids to learn sentence structure and grammar and reading comprehension. How am I going to get this compassionate classroom stuff in there?
Well, what we're really talking about is establishing a tone in the classroom. That we're not advocating for any content to change. You're bound to certain assessments, I know, and the standards will be the standards, and the content will be the content that you need to deliver. Absolutely. And at the same time, you can hack your classroom culture by introducing some of the tools and protocols and approaches that we talk about in the book. And as far as curriculum is concerned, we love the notion of, if you have flexibility, building curriculum around the needs and interests of the students. And we give you some ways to do that.
So can I bring this assessment in alongside my curriculum? Give us a little snapshot of what that might look like in a classroom.
Sure. I mean, there are schools, very few of them, that have been set up to use those character strengths as part of their report card. So in addition to assessing skills and using grades, they're rating improvements in various character strengths, because the more you practice a character strength, the stronger it becomes. We each have what's known as signature strengths, the things that like we rely on all the time, that come naturally to us. So for example, perspective. You and I are practicing perspective by, saying, well, we'll do the best we can here. If the phone falls, oh, well, in the big picture, it's not going to matter, because that's one of our strengths. Humor, we're practicing humor. And teachers can absolutely use character strength assessments. We don't want them to be graded, though. These are things that we want to encourage our students to develop, because what's the end game here for our students? We want them to achieve, of course, and we also want to cultivate them as human beings. And when we think about the jobs of the future, which we don't even know what those are going to be yet, currently employers are asking for their freshly hired employees to be able to get along with other people, to work on teams. That's a strength. That's a character strength that we can cultivate, help our kids cultivate in the classroom by providing, for example, project learning, experiential education, authentic opportunities to learn that require working together in a company, for example.
And going back to that pushback again, it sounds to me like what you're saying is, when you mention companies and what they're looking for, a lot of this is soft skills. And I think, the pushback often tends to be, I have to teach my hard skills. But I think what you guys suggest in hacking school culture is that if we cultivate this self-compassion and compassion within our classroom and the soft skills, that won't those hard skills take care of themselves?
Well, one of our principles is that learning really does depend on feeling comfortable in a classroom. And so When students come in and they're worried about relationships and they're worried about what is the teacher thinking of me, and oh my God, my friend just teased me and the teacher said something negative to me, they become a lot more distracted and have more challenges in learning and mastering those skills. But if they know that they're in an emotionally safe place, the teacher really has their best interests at heart, that they are being encouraged to get along with their classmates, preventing conflict, solving conflict peacefully, and are being supported by the teacher, then they they want to learn. Kids really do come developmentally to this world wanting to learn.
It certainly is clear who's one of the authors on this book, you along with Angela Stockman, because I'm hearing so much of it and I love it. And I know that people watching they're getting broad strokes and they're hearing the stuff that is sometimes it's great for the sound bites. It's all about, this is what we need to do to be better, to make kids better, to make ourselves better. And we've heard a little snapshot of some of the finer points, and those are in here in Hacking School Culture, Designing Compassionate Classrooms. And I have been, although I know you can't see it, I have put up on the screen numerous times that we're going to go to compassionateclassrooms.org, and there people can find the book club, right? And just remind us briefly about the book club and what people will see when they go there.
So what we're doing for the book club is twice a week. We're on Monday and Wednesday. We're blogging for each hack, and we started last week. And we're in Hack 1. We did intro last week. We have Hack 1 this week. Hack 2 goes next week, and everything will be archived on the book club page. Right. So it's evergreen. And people can come in when they want, go out when they want. There's no charge. And if they don't even have to subscribe in order to read our blog, if people do want to subscribe, they will get a Sunday shout out, which provides tools and resources that are not in the book.
At hashtag Compassionate Classrooms, which we've shown on this broadcast a few times as well. And now what I've put up as we wrap up here is hacklearningtoolkit.com, and I show that because that's a free resource from Hack Learning, and I will take this video sometime this week and download it and then upload it to that toolkit so that people not only can get it here, but anyone who grabs that toolkit, which has more from Hacking School Culture, links to Ellen and Angela, links to their resources. If you grab that toolkit, you'll also get this video and so much more, hacklearningtoolkit.com. Ellen and Feig Gray, thank you for working through the glitches.
It's definitely fun. As you could see, I'm really passionate about this. Angela is equally as passionate. What we're bringing to the world is a result of our own experience, our experience at home, in the classroom, with everyone we know, and marrying that with what, positive psychology, education research, and the kitchen sink. So,
there's so many people referenced in the book as well who have, a wealth of experience and education, and we've got real expertise in here, and I think it's important, even though you've mentioned it, to just say again that Ellen and Angela don't say, hey, we've got all the answers and we can wave a magic wand and help you create your compassionate classroom. What they offer is just an incredible amount of information that they have gathered, that they have practiced, that they have taught, and it's so valuable and it's so needed. Ellen, thank you so much for joining. This has been great.
Thank you, and please join the conversation so we can design compassionate classrooms together.
All right. It's been wonderful. Have a good night.
You too.